Okay, so good morning everybody. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you're all doing okay. I'm struggling to remember what day it is, but who cares? Hey, who cares what day it is? Does it matter? No. Yeah, so I had a play around with some of these sprays, and just some of the colours were just so lovely. I thought, right, why not just share with all of you? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be having a go. I'm going to show you how I sort of built this card up. Super simple. And the first thing I'm going to do is bring in my little spray station. So I'm going to move all these bits to one side so that I can put my spray station under the camera. These are the stamps that I'll be using in a minute. So and that one. All right, so pop this down. So I've got my little inserts. I know the lighting's not great when I do this bit, but I'll tell you what, this thing does save an awful lot of mess. So the first part that I did, if I just show you here, to create this little, it's almost a sort of dimensional look to the card, but it's really super simple. I don't know about you, but I tended to get sent a lot of those funny magnets. So this was actually a magnet that had some, I don't know, something about my family tree being full of nuts or something on it, which is lovely. But when you get lots and lots of them, that was this one rather, you sort of run out of space for you. And I thought, what can I do with this? What can I do with this little magnet? So I thought, oh, I know, I'll stick on a bit of card and spray over it. So that's how I made this little thing. And that is how I made this sort of aperture thing here as well. So I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I took a piece of coconut cardstock, pop that down, and then, is my light working? Yes, it is just about. Pop to canvas. So as I say, you can either use a magnet. This was a magnet that I used before. This is just one of those little mini canvases that you can get, or you can just chop yourself up a piece of cardstock, and it's basically 7 centimetres by 7 centimetres. Karen, it's Christmas Eve. Yes, it sure is. Feels like it. No, luckily I've done all my food shopping, so I don't need to worry. So lots of ways of doing this. I'm going to use I'm going to use a piece of cardstock, see how that works. So take those down. I've got my gloss sprays. Now the thing to remember with these sprays is they are acrylic paint in a spray bottle, and the lovely thing about that is that once you've sprayed them, they are permanent. So you can do all sorts of things on top if you want to, and the colours won't move, which they will do with a lot of other sprays. So for example, the Dina Wakley sprays, hers are water reactive, so anything you put on top will basically move the colours underneath. So starting off with this, I love this colour, turquoise, giving that a nice little spray. And I quite often get these little pools of water come out, because when I finish spraying, I take my water pot, and I'll show you what I mean by that. I've just got a pot of water, and I basically stick the nozzle in, give it a little swish round, and then I just dry it on a bit of kitchen towel. I don't always dry off all the water, so sometimes you get these splatters. Don't matter. So the main thing is, turn this bit of cardstock over because there's a bit of a mark on that one. To get your card where you want it, I had mine at a bit of a jaunty angle. Give my turquoise a spray, a shake, and then give it a good old spray. Really like that colour. And I've dipped and I'm dabbing, and you can see I've taken off. I mean, because it's acrylic paint, if it sticks in that nozzle, then you're going to get clogging issues, aren't you? And the other important thing, always put your lids on. Put your lids, anything you've got that is moist or fluid, pop your lids on. Right, now I'm going to keep that there. So you see, this is a disadvantage to using a piece of paper. It curls up. So I'm going to swap that for something like this. I hadn't thought about that before, but that was interesting. If you don't want your paper or your card to curl up, give it a spritz of water underneath, and that will help that. I'm going to come in with the other colour now, which is the ocean. Give that little shake side to side. Move some of these bits out of the way. Right. Give that a little spritz. Now, another thing, when I did this one, I liked how I just got this kind of mixing of colours here, but I kept the turquoise at the bottom. And when I tried to do that on the next piece, it didn't work quite so well. I still love that background, and this is the one I'm going to use for the next steps. But if you want to control it a little bit more, what I've done is I've die cut a circle, and I'm going to put that here so that when I spray, the spray is not going to go on the outer edges. Now I don't want it too controlled, so I'll move this about a bit, and then I can just trying to keep this outer area more the turquoise colour than the ocean. The other thing you have to remember with these paints is that they are a sort of plastic, so if I was to leave this on here and not move that and let that dry, this would actually stick to the card. So move it while it's all still wet, and with that in mind, try and make sure that you have somewhere to pop these things, these wet bits and pieces. Dina Wakley does say do not heat set these, don't dry them, so try and leave them to dry naturally. I mean, I have used, to be honest, I have used the heat gun and I haven't found it a huge problem, but obviously at some point it must have caused problems, or she wouldn't have said that. Now the white, I'm going to add the white before I remove that, because I like my splatters. So what I'm going to do, I'm giving it a shake, and then I'm just going to unscrew this bit. Now, top tip here, if you're going to be doing what I do, which is dipping these in water, you want to take the plastic off, because otherwise the water will stay in the plastic and it just causes a bit of a mess. So I'm going to be splattering, so I'm going to take this out and then get rid of that plastic. And then when I pop this in my water pot, this plastic's not going to cause a problem. Okay. So I'm splattering. This is fun. I love this. This brings out the kid in me. Whoosh. And another reason why this spray booth is great fun. I'm going to stand up for this, because if you stand up, you can kind of get direction. You can get lines of splatters. Who wouldn't enjoy this? Come on. It's not controllable, but then life's not controllable, is it? We found that out in the last few months. Yeah. Splitty splatter. Okay. So, let's have a little look what that's doing. Yeah, good fun. Pop that down to dry. Don't put these down on paper to dry, because then again when you lift them up they will stick to the paper. Find something like, for example, I'm going to pop mine over the top of my water pot, and that's so that the edges aren't going to be touching. Da, 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 da. And that one, that bit's going to go over there. Okay, now this is the one that I'm going to be working on, but I didn't splatter that with white, so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to splatter. Morning. A beautiful Christmas star. More like a Christmas pudding. Right, there you go. Standing up, splatter. Going all up the top of the box. Oh. Oh, I love it. Just love it. Okay, calm down, Susie. Right, so take this out. And that is my splattering over. Now these inserts, because this is acrylic paint, I don't have to worry too much, because what I then tend to do, let me just show you. I'm actually just going to spritz all this with water. Look how white's gone all the way out the back there. Spritz that with water, keep that moist, and then when I'm done, I can just wipe those clean. If the paint dries on those inserts, the wipe clean inserts, it's not a problem, because if you just get a bit of like alcohol hand gel, something like this, pop it onto like an old kitchen sponge. What I do with my kitchen sponges, once they're not at their best for washing up, I pop them in either the dishwasher or the washing machine, and that way I can then use them for cleaning up my craft area. Okay, so I'll set that to dry. Now this one that I've just done is almost dry. It takes up to half an hour, and the bits that will take longest will be these splattery bits because they're thicker. Okay, so I love that. So again, I'm getting that kind of, do they call it ombre? Anyway, so that's the effect I want. Put that to one side. I'll put that up there. Now the next bit is when this is dry, and if I don't want those white splatters in the middle, I'll just come in with my kitchen towel. I can actually just dab those off. Let's do that now, because obviously once it's dry you can't take them off really, can you? But if I do it now, they're kind of blending in a bit more. Interesting. Anyway, okay. I get so excited about these things, I really do. Okay, so I'm going to come in with a piece of cardstock now and do a bit of stamping. So the stamps that I'm using, I'm going to use, this is a Françoise Reed. It's a ladybird. I really like this one. And I'm going to pop that on. And so what I do when I'm going to be using stamps in demos and things like that, I tend to have them on the outside. I pop a little clip on so it's just easy to get to them, and that way I don't lose the bits. And this bit here, this is, you know, your 2 bits of plastic that you get with your stamps, you always lose one, don't you, because they're see-through and they just hide on your desk. Pop a bit of tape over them, and that way you don't lose them as well. So I'll take my little ladybird off, put that down there, and I'll take the greeting off as well, which is lovely. It says, "It is truly amazing, the little things." Oh, it is truly the little things. I'll put it here. Truly the little things that make life so amazing. God, we've needed that in the last few months. Okay, so let's move those to one side. Pop my clip on so I don't lose those. Get my stamp platform. Make sure that's the right way up. And pop down my little ladybird. Make sure that's the right way up as well. Now, as always, get your anti-static pad. Now, I'll have that out. It was here just a second ago. So before I do my stamping, I want to give this a little pounce on here. And that way, because I'm going to be heat embossing, that won't stick. Take the stamp, get my Versamark ink pad, give that a little tap, and let me think, is that dry? Pop him down. Now when you've got quite a thin stamping block like this, it's really handy because you can sort of bend it up and make sure that you get the detail in the middle onto your card. Scrap of paper, catch your embossing powder. Detailed embossing powder is the best if you've got some. And tip that onto your paper, and you've got that lovely impression. Give that a little blow. Now, if you have got any bits around it that you don't want, you could just use a little detail brush to get rid of those. But that seems good. The anti-static pad has done its job. Put everything away, put lids on. Put your lids on. Should be a song. Put your lids on. Put your lids on. Lid on that. Lid on that. Right, so my ladybird, I'm going to emboss my ladybird. Curling, so I'll just go underneath and it'll curl back again. You can actually heat emboss them underneath. Thankfully. So that's that one. So I'm going to put that to one side. Now this is probably dry enough. Just going to dry the middle bit. And I'm going to stamp my ladybird one more time in the middle here. This doesn't have to be a perfect image because I'm going to be decoupaging. So one more time. One more. Oh, I can't sing that, can I? Because I'll probably get shut down by Facebook if I start singing songs. It's not a bad thing. Okay, so I want to work out, where do I want him to go? Do I want him like that? Do I want him straight up? What do you think? Anybody watching? Do you care? You've got everything, Jan, have you? Not going out? No, stay in, stay in. Stay away from the spreaders. Okay. All right, let's have him that way. I'm going to stand up to do this. Hopefully I've given him a good inky. The main things I want are his head and his arms. Sorry, I'm just pushing the camera there. Don't do that, Susie. All right. Now, what did I not do there? What did I not do? I did not use my anti-static bag. So I'm going to probably get some clinging. So what I'm going to do is come round. Because this is the one I've just done, don't forget. I've just... So I'm going to basically get black embossing powder everywhere because I didn't let this dry or use my anti-static pad. So... we'll see how that goes. I have got this, actually that's the one I've just splattered. This is the one I did from beginning. So if that doesn't work, I've got this one as a backup. Anyway, let's see what happens. So, I'm going to kind of try and cheat and just do that. Oh, that's not too bad. I've got most of his legs. There we are. That's all right. Could be worse, couldn't it? Right. Let's have a little tidy up. Now, if you've been doing general crafting, don't try and save the embossing powder on your mat, because if you've been crafting, you'll end up catching anything that you've had on your mat, glitters, other colours, especially for white embossing powder. For these few strands, it's not worth it. For me, my mat was clean this morning, so I can do this without worrying too much. So I've captured those last few bits and also tidies up my mat as well for you guys. So don't use your heat gun on the plastic inserts. They're not heat resistant. They are solvent resistant, which means you can, as I said, you can use your antibacterial hand gel with the alcohol in it. That's fine, that's not going to do them any harm. And that, I think that also means that you can use your alcohol inks as well, but you shouldn't be using heat because that will warp them. So it's only his legs really that I'm worried about. Arms. Arms? Did I say arms? Oh, Karen, I don't know what I'm saying. You know me. The last, when I did the other gloss sprays demo, and I edited it for YouTube to cut out that bit where my camera swapped and it showed my nostrils and the lights. I listened, and at the end of it, I'd said something about Diane Reevely sprays. I wasn't even using Diane Reevely sprays. It's Dina Wakley. Anyway, I'm sure people will realise that I've just... Okay, so I've got a few black splatters. Really not bothered. Don't care. So, then what I did was The one that I set aside, this one, going to come in with a Distress Oxide spray, and this is Festive Berries. You can use any colour you want really, but I quite like this one. So I'll pop some of that down. Get my little paintbrush and just painted him. Oh, I've painted his eye. Not a problem, I'll show you why in a minute. How you can overcome that. We shall overcome. That's the motto of the year, isn't it? You've got a mat coming with the stuff Hubby's getting you for Christmas. Oh, good for you, Olive. Oh dear, stuff he knows about. Yeah, how many of us are going, oh look, I've just taken a parcel in for the neighbour. Tear your name off quickly. Oh, my next door neighbour, their son's 21 on Christmas Day, and we're in tier 4. How sad is that? Christmas Day and your 21st birthday in lockdown. That's not even funny. Oh, I've got to make him a card. What sort of card do you make for a 21-year-old? not a card with a ladybird on it, that's for sure. Oh, but maybe I could keep this and put some sort of blokey thing in the middle. And draw a, I don't know, football or something. Anyway, so that's that. And these you can dry. These are the oxide sprays you can dry. So give that a little dry. Now what I want to do is give that a bit of a lift. So I have got here Sakura Pigma brush pens. I love these, and I'm using the red one. You can use any felt pen. And then I'm just going to come in and give them a bit of shade. Now, not being too careful because I'm going to cut this out. Bit of depth. Now I love doing a bit of shading because I think it just brings the image to life a bit more. Give that a dry. And now I'm going to chop him up. Sorry, look away, those of you who are upset by this sort of thing. So I'm just going inside the black embossing, because I'm going to layer this onto what I've done on the card. Super quick. When I said I chopped his eyes, I coloured his eyes, well, there you go. Doesn't matter, does it? Because I'm just chopping out his body. But what you do want to do, because now I've got the white edges showing, so I take just a fairly dark colour. This one's fairly dark. Just go round and just colour those white edges. Okay, so that's all done. Lid's on. Now, give that a little bit of a bendy booze. Oh, Karen, exciting! Exciting! I had a parcel arrive. I had a parcel arrive this morning for my next show, which is going to be art journaling and scrapbooking, although I don't scrapbook. So I've got a crafty friend that's going to help me out with that, which is fun. So, there you go. Pop that down. Hold that in place. Now, how easy is that to cut out? I love stamps that you can cut out easily. There we are. So just line that up. Oh, no, it's not dry. I've actually smudged around there. Am I bothered? No, not bothered at all. So that's that. Right, what am I doing next? Oh, so next I want to stamp the sentiment. Now that's buckling up, so I just need to get a clean bit of paper and push down, because when I don't want to smudge any more of that red. Press that down a few seconds, and while that is sticking, move these other things out of the way. I try and move everything away from the area where I'm going to be using heat, because it just dries things out, doesn't it? Okay, so now I want to use my anti-static pad down here and stamp the sentiment. Let's use a little flexi block for this one. That's what I love about doing things in my craft room, is I've got everything to hand. So I'm sticking that down. I like these grid blocks as well because they help you line things up. Not that I'm going to be stamping it straight anyway. It is truly the little things that make life so amazing. And I'm going to, and I stamp this, I do want that to be fairly still. So if I've lined that up on the block, I'll be able to use my grid lines to roughly get distance, or certainly get it straight along the bottom. So that's what I'll do. Ink that up. Inky dinky doo. I've used my anti-static pad. Check. Pop that down round about there. Now I was forgetting that I'm not using my stamp press, and I was lining it up, but it's actually resting on the paper, so it's not going to make for a very clear impression if I've smudged it moving it. But again, I don't really care. Just for fun, just to give you an idea of how I did it. You can, as I say when you're watching the demonstrators on telly, you can do this at home and take much more care. That's not too bad. If I hadn't moved it, it would be a lot crisper. It would be a bit more like that. But anyway, let's see how that works out. Get the heat gun on again. Lid on Susie, and move it out of the way. Heat gun up to temperature. Again, if you want to, you can just start warming the paper up underneath. And that's the nice thing about these gloss sprays as well. Although you're not supposed to heat dry them, you can heat emboss on them. There you go. Now, if I find that that is one of the letters is the so isn't that clear, I could come in and while it was hot I could just take some of that away. The other thing that I've done before is if I've stamped something and I'm not particularly happy with it, because you know you feel like you've done all this work, it's absolutely beautiful, we'll stamp it onto another piece of card and stick it over the top. Okay, not a problem at all. So that's that. Now the other thing that I did was I stamped and coloured exactly the same way that I did with this. I used a stamp from, this was another Francoise set, Tatty Butterflies, and she's got this little heart which I really like, so I just stamped that several times, embossed it in silver and coloured it again with the with these two colours, which is the Festive Berries and the red felt pen. So that's how I did that bit. So what's the next bit? Oh, the next bit was the card base. And I'm not going to do all the stamping and embossing because that would just be so boring. So I've already done that. So I've taken a piece of cardstock. I like to make my own cards because then I can use up things. Oh look, gosh, that's organised. I've already done all this. Okay, so basically A4 piece of card, scored, folded, and then I've stamped these bits. This is grungy dots. I've stamped all three of those round the edge. And what I would have done is just filled in these gaps with a bit more. Then layer up on a black piece of cardstock. So I'll do that now. Actually, I won't bother doing that. I'll just show you what I'm going to do. Then I took my hearts and I stuck them on there. So those are the little hearts I was telling you about. Let me take those out of the plastic so you can see them better. Just these. So I stick those down wherever you want to. And the final step, before I actually stuck those down, I took a Stabilo oil pen which is this one, Aquarelle Stabilo All. And I love this pencil. It's a pencil, not a pen. And you can use this on paper, glass, plastic and metal. And then what I did was, went round the edge, scribbled a bit down round the edge. Pop that down gently. Come back to my pencil. Where have I put my pencil? My words aren't working today, are they? My paintbrush. Just get some water. Not too much though. Have a bit of kitchen towel ready in case you need to dab off some water. And then you're just going to come in and activate that. And this is what kind of gives it that 3D effect-ish, because you're adding a bit of shading under there. You can probably do this with any watercolour pencil, black watercolour pencil. But the Stabilo All, I just find that works really well. And so it doesn't take long at all. Just scribbled a bit of the pencil, you call it a pen, scribbled a bit of the pencil. Hi Leslie. And there we are. So that's how I added a little bit more interest around the edge there. So that's what takes it from that to that. And you can keep playing about with that if you want to. You could also use just a black micron pen. I'll show you that. Get a black micron pen out, and what size is that? One. That's quite a fine nib. You could just scribble along the edge. I'm not sure if these will smudge when they're wet. Let's try it, see if that works. It might do, because on this plastic surface it might get a bit of ink running, so that might be another alternative. Oh yeah, a little bit, but it has a different effect. It's much more blobby, whereas this one was quite smooth. This one's gone a bit blobby, as in Mr. Blobby. Who remembers him? That's another effect. And if you didn't like that, you might even just be able to wipe that off. And it's just left a little bit of shading around the edge, so that's fine. You could also use a charcoal pencil. Let's see if I've got a charcoal pencil. Pastel pencil, Conti. You do a little bit of smidgy smudge, that works quite well. So lots of ways that you can add a bit of shading. You could just add it underneath, or you can add it all round. Play with that and see what works for you. See the look that you like. But that's the whole point about sort of mixed media and art, isn't it? It's just having a bit of fun, seeing what you like. Galactic Ladybird. Oh, thank you, Olive. So that's that. Those are the two, well, various different ways. Splatters will always look different. Your paint sprays will always look different. Depends on how much you use and, you know, how the universe is responding on that day. So that would be that. I would layer that onto the black card. Layer that onto my card base, which I would have finished stamping all the way around, but I'm not going to. And there you would have your, put your hearts up there, and ta-da! Ta-da! Magic! All finished. So that is how I made this with the Dina Wakley gloss sprays, different ways of creating your aperture. And if you didn't want to do that, if you just wanted to do the whole thing, then you would just stamp your ladybird onto white card, onto a square of white card, and do the same thing. If you stamped and coloured him, you could just as easily use your charcoals and your Stabilo oil to go around that piece of paper in just the same way. So really, there's so many different ways of getting the same effect. I just wanted to show you a few of them. Okay, so I think that is it for today. I hope you all have a really lovely Christmas and New Year, the best that you possibly can. And in the meantime, I'll think about my behaviour, try and think about ways that I can improve these recordings and get a better camera setup, etc. But we're all doing the best we can, aren't we? Lots of love to all of you. Keep crafting, keep relatively sane. I mean, most of you I know, well, you're not sane anyway, but that's a good thing. We're all a bit crazy here, aren't we? So best of luck to you all, and yeah, I'll catch up with you soon.